So what we just saw basically is that when I add those things, the SUBD does its job, but it kind of rounds out the edges. Now, if I don't want that, there's also a tool for that. You can see here, for instance, I can just basically go to the stitch, mesh, and SUBD edges. That's exactly what I want. So I take this guy and I then just select again my first section. So first set, enter, then the next set, and this should close it actually very nicely. So you can see that one is done. Now I just need to do that iteratively. First one, second one. Now you can see I have a very nice connection there. And wherever you see that, you can now just go through the model and just quickly do that. So now you can see we actually stitched that together. I mean, there are also some other parts like here. Like so. Now that looks a bit better, I would say. We can do the same thing here. And you can see now we can actually close that off actually very nice. So, I mean, we are pretty much done. We can actually try to already create a kind of offset the geometry, because that's something important for Twinmotion, that we actually have a solid part. You can also just play around a bit more if you want. You can still do some more of those nice details. So we can, you know, add some here. I could also just add some here, maybe also here. Maybe that's already enough. That's pretty much it. Same on the other side, so I need to see two. Please feel around. And if I select something and I do not want to have that, I press Control and really try to find the edge that I pressed. You can see here, so I just deselect that. And here I actually want to have it. Does that look symmetrical? Yeah, well, kind of does. And I'll try to find the other point, which is this guy, this edge here, and also this edge here. So let's say we are happy with that and we can finalize that. So I'm just going to say extract, say enter, and then extract surface. Put it into the right layer. All right, now look at this kind of beauty. But we still have some problems now that I just caused myself. So I'm just going to do it very quick, the same way. Stitch them together using, again, this component here, stitch. You can just type in stitch. All right, that should look kind of fine. So again, please do not criticize the design too much. We didn't want to, you know, go into actually designing it in a real architectural fashion. I think it's a very nice kind of, you know, geometry exploration with very simple tools that we learned with the SUBD. Now the next thing is to basically offset that. So we have two layers currently defined, and I want to offset basically my let's say walls actually, and I want to select everything, then go to that object. In my case it's layer 3, and do not want to select this guy, the plane. I want to shape that up in a second, but everything else I can pretty much take and then actually model up. So I can just say offset SUBD, or you can just find it here, offset SUBD. Offset SUBD sounds good. Distance, let's keep it to 0. Let's not make it too fat, so let's say 30 centimeters is good. So in both directions, I'm going to say 0.15. Solid yes, both sides yes please, and enter, enter. And now you can already see, get a very nice kind of detail. So that's number one. So we have that now, looks fine. And the other thing that we want to do is do something similar with the inner. So my layer 4, I should name them better. Let me just name that quickly better. So solids, and we have then the facade or stripes, something like this. And we just select everything again, select objects. Now everything should be fine-ish. Yeah, and let's do the same thing. So I'm going to use this command here, offset. And this time we want to make it a bit smaller, I would say, so 0.025. So in both directions, that will equal 5 centimeters, which is kind of glass or whatever we define that. If you do that, we should then, if we go to see that it actually works, we have like solid parts, and we have this interesting geometry, I find. So with a very nice kind of detailing, as you can see, very futuristic looking, and we of course will export that then much more when we dive into Twinmotion. The last thing I want to do is just define this ground plane, because we want to create kind of a scene. I have something in mind which is kind of a small island, because it's a very kind of unique design. Let's make it, surrounded by water, because also the theme I think is fitting. And then we don't want to create kind of the ground plane where you actually can go onto this island, small island, let's say, and actually look at this, whatever this is, right? So now it's really up to you. So I subdivided that. I'm going to just take this guy and just move it down like so, and maybe move this guy also down. And maybe what I want to do is just take this guy and then move it a bit like so, move it to the top, so we actually have something where we can actually, rest this guy on like so-ish. Looks kind of okay, yeah, it's a bit weird, but okay. We can just stretch this guy out a bit, so we have kind of a nice portion where actually the water can be more or less associated, if you will. And the same thing I'm going to do here. Just going to move this guy a bit more extreme like so, and then this guy I actually want to take and move, I take this guy and move it a bit, so we actually have this plane. Then I want to move this one up ever so slightly, that it almost intersects. Please do something that you feel more comfortable with. I think that's okay-ish, yeah. Looks very weird, but we can just work with that. Maybe it's something like this. So, I mean, yeah, should be fine. To be honest, we are just exploring this design a bit, and this guy we can also put down. So, and this guy actually I want to put it into another layer, so I'll just call this ground. Ground, I'm going to select this guy and put it to ground. So I have it now in a nice layer fashion. This guy I do not need. And this one we can also offset. So I'm just going to say happy, all fine. I want to this time not do both sides, just want to go in the other direction. So I'm going to click on this one, so it flips the directions, and distance can be something like 0.3. Let's have a look. That does look kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, we could have designed that a bit better so it's more extreme, but I like that it only has actually 2 points where it rests. Almost. Now we could have done that a bit better. Now there's a good question. If you push this guy up, does it still work? It does. No? So you kind of also have now the control on your solid SUBD. It's an interesting fashion though. You need to select both faces if you want to have an equal offset. Otherwise it will just offset the upper, not the bottom layer. So that's very important to note. But I think that's good. Whatever this is, right? If you want to have a better view, you can just go to environments, select something, import a new environment like so. But obviously you want to look at that in Twinmotion, so it doesn't really matter. Just to show it to you, I would go here and get something maybe as a different scene. And you can see now, just translates pretty nicely. And save, just to make it a bit more interesting to see. We can go to layers and just give the stripes a different material. So I'm just going to go to use new material, import, and then let's go to metal, I don't know, polished. Let's have a look. And just take something, I don't know, blue. All right, it's not going to be nice. Yes. And, well, there you go. Now we can at least see what we get out of it. It's pretty much nice. I like the curves that are there. It's very futuristically looking. And hopefully we can do some interesting things now when we bring this guy into Twinmotion. So, beautiful job. Save your design. And now in the next one, I'm going to show you just a simple way to download Twinmotion and then get started with it. So, see you there.